What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got quite a bit to talk about. Now, we're going to be referring to this as rumors, and at this point in the game, it's very much not even rumors, but because the games themselves are kind of speculative, right? We don't know of Gears of War, behind me. We don't know of Halo. We don't know what the literal roadmap ahead is, for this entire situation. But the idea that it is more than just Hi-Fi Rush, and Pentiment, games like that, that's all but, done. It's all but confirmed at this point. Now, when I'm recording this, Phil Spencer, maybe a few hours ago, tweeted, he did the age-old line, "We hear you." I know people had something to say about, at least that beginning, but he talked about, hearing you, listening to you, all that jazz, and they're going to do, something next week. Now, the reports were that they weren't going to do anything until like the end of February. And so this does seem like they moved it up, right? If they're going to do like some sort of pre-stream kind of thing, like put together video and put it out on YouTube or whatever, they're going to be moving that thing up. It lets us go another week, though, of just kind of chaos. Like, to be honest with you, it is complete and utter chaos right now, and they're just going to let it go till, next Monday or Tuesday. What can you do? Doesn't really matter. Honestly, it's not going to really change my life all that much, but, well, this stuff actually might change my life just a little bit. So what do we have? Well, we have the reports and the speculation that Xbox is going third party. Like, I don't want to mince words. Obviously, again, I don't want to like jump the gun and say like everything, right? But you got to take it for what people are saying. And like, this is it. Starfield coming to PlayStation probably soon, probably like June, July, August, right? You have Hi-Fi Rush, which is coming in the first quarter. So Hi-Fi Rush probably comes out next month. It's probably like a mid-March game, right? Indiana Jones, the report or rumor is, comes out on Xbox and PC in December, and then would come to PlayStation, a few months after that. So maybe next February, March, April, Indiana Jones is on PlayStation. Gears of War is a rumor that's the next game is coming to PlayStation. The next Halo game, there's a rumor that's coming to PlayStation. I want to say it's over, but like don't twist my words here, or at least hear me out. What do I mean when I say it's over? So it is definitely a situation. The reports basically are that Xbox or Microsoft is not exactly happy with, the projected numbers going forward. So you do the Activision Blizzard thing. Obviously, you already had Bethesda, all that jazz. And just what's continued to happen with the Xbox console and what's continued to happen, with sales, they're not happy about. And this is a very big pivot. It sounds like a lot of these things are kind of just like happening. Like the Gears of War thing is something they're actively talking about behind the scenes like right now. So it is literally coming undone in real time, and you have people saying like internally Xbox employees are not happy, at the situation that's going on. So, okay, overall, I'm not all that mad, the situation that's happening. Now, it's not a freaking fanboy thing, so for the love of God, don't even come at me with that. I will say one thing against this idea. This very much opens the door for PlayStation to kind of rule all. Now, Nintendo is always going to be there, right? And they quietly dominate. Maybe not even quietly, loudly dominate, but they're their own thing. The market for the Switch and the market for the PS5 are not really the same, right? So I get my concern, really the biggest concern, or even maybe my only concern, is that complacency. And I've said this time and time again. I see a lot of people echoing it, but I have said it multiple times. The PS3 era was something very special. Now, Sony started that era behind. They were getting kicked in the freaking teeth, okay, going into the PS3. Xbox beat them with price. They beat them with the console itself. They had the games, right? PlayStation was playing from behind for a very long time. What that, I believe, made them do is get insanely creative. Yes, the PS2 is probably the greatest library of games ever. You can maybe debate, some of the older consoles, but PS2, oftentimes looked at. PS3, at least to me, biasness, to me, was maybe Sony at its most creative. You had big budget games, but they were kind of smaller, if that makes sense. You had games coming out left and right that were just weird. You had franchises returning, like Sly Cooper. You had remasters, like the Silent Hill collection or Metal Gear. The Metal Gear collection is still better than the Metal Gear collection we just got for PS5. It was just an interesting era where Sony was kind of doing everything. You had games like Puppeteer and Tokyo Jungle. Do you guys remember freaking Tokyo Jungle? That was a game. I didn't really like it all that much, but it was definitely unique, right? Patapon, I think was a little bit more handheld, but like PlayStation All-Stars, right? They took their jab at Smash Bros. It was just an era. And why do I keep, going on about this? I believe that they did that because they had to. They were pushed against the wall and they had to get creative, and that's what we got. Since then, I don't really think we've replicated. Now, there's been amazing games. Every year there's amazing games. But I really don't think from PlayStation exclusivity, I don't really think we've repeated the quality and the diversity of the PS3 era. Now, that's just one angle, right? Because I guess I'm saying, well, if Xbox is out, well, PlayStation can kind of do whatever they want, and, well, are they going to get creative? That's up to them, I guess, but there's less pressure to get creative. What about the cost? So, we know that consoles sell at a loss. They constantly are losing money on it. It's more about the subscriptions. It's more about the games themselves. It's not really about the box itself, right? They don't make money off that. If they did, I think one of the consoles, they made like $10, $20 on each one, okay? Well, the PS6 would be sold at a loss to compete. You would be competing with other things like, say, an Xbox console. Now, does an Xbox console come out? Probably, but it's definitely not going to be strong. And we're going to get there. Obviously, the strength of the Xbox console is going to plummet, through the Earth's crust, okay? So PlayStation, well, can they raise the price of the PS6 instead of selling it for $500 and they lose money? How about $550? How about $600? Can they do that? I think that's actually a possibility because competition breeds that stuff. Competition breeds, okay, lowering prices. You got to get creative. You got to do stuff that you otherwise wouldn't do because you're in a fight, in a war, one might say. So that's the one thing that I'd like to throw out there. And granted, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It does not mean it's going to happen because, like I said, and even we have the leaks from the court documents. Xbox has another console. It's that Echo Dot looking, like the taller one. Like, that is going to happen. So there's going to be at least one more. But, if that comes out, say, in 2 or 3 years, do they expect it to last 6, 7, 8 years, or do they expect it to last 2, 3, 4 years and that's it? Because this strategy, while I don't actually mind it, does mean the end, I believe, of the strength of the Xbox console. For the simple fact of, well, if every game is going to come out on PlayStation, whether it's day one or even say 2, 3, 4 months down the line, you've really stripped all of the strength of your console. Now, if that's what you want to do, I don't see, and this is where I would say I separate myself, and this is why I don't think I am a fanboy or I don't try to partake in this stuff. If Xbox's strategy is to be anywhere, and guess what? I predicted this. When Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush was rumored to come to PS5 a month ago, I made videos, and in those videos, end of the videos, I talked about what if they did it for everything, where if their plan is to just put it out everywhere, get these games out and really, what does that mean? It means to be a publisher. It means you're going to publish games. You're not going to be a console maker anymore. And that, Xbox has really shown a lot of signs of wanting to do that for a decade. In fact, when the Xbox One was pitched and they had all of that controversy, it's what it sounded like. It sounded like they didn't even want the box itself, right? It was kind of more than that. And yeah, that was controversial and they backpedaled quite a bit, right? And all that jazz. But the foundation of what they want, I think, has been steady this entire time. Now, yeah, people can get mad. And I will also say this. Normally I say, well, who cares, right? Games everywhere, games, coming on PlayStation that are Xbox or PlayStation games going to Xbox, whatever. I will say one thing just to, make you guys aware that, I try to see all angles. I really do. Even if I'm not in these situations, I try to see it from other people's point of view. One thing, and I have seen, and I do think it's very reasonable, is the people that literally, I have an Xbox Series X, right? So people that have an Xbox Series X and they don't have a PlayStation 5, those people would be the most upset. And I do think that's valid. They spent $500 on a system for, say, and maybe some of them didn't do this, but if you bought the Series X for the exclusives, and then the exclusives go on PlayStation, well, PlayStation gets the PlayStation exclusives and the Xbox ones now. Xbox only gets the Xbox ones, and you could have just gotten a PC. So for those people to say, well, I may have wanted to use my $500 US conversion rates, differ. I could use my $500 US to buy a PlayStation 5. I have seen that on Reddit, on Twitter, on YouTube. I think that's valid for the simple fact of, literally what I said. You now don't have, or, people that are in that situation, they do not really have exclusives anymore if they all come out, everywhere else. They're missing out now on PlayStation, and maybe they want to, maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care about the PS5 exclusives, but I think some of them do. So I understand that part of it. Generally, I am not, again, besides my fear of complacency for PlayStation, I'm not all that upset. In fact, actually, no, I'm not upset at all. You could say whatever you want, I guess, in the comments. But, if this is what they want to do, now I guess the issue is it actually what they want to do? Is this Phil Spencer doing this, or is this Microsoft saying, we just spent almost let's round up, $100 billion. And really, if you throw in Bethesda and stuff, you could make a case. Okay, we spent $100 billion and more on all of these Game Pass contracts, on keeping these studios around to put the games on Game Pass. And some of them do sell and some of them don't sell, right? They do well on Game Pass. Things like Sea of Thieves, it sells. It sells plus on Game Pass. Persona 3, we're seeing that situation, right? So you might have these higher-ups that are not even in the Xbox ecosystem at Microsoft, not Xbox, Microsoft, saying we need to have a hard shift here. So I guess, granted, my main thing of if it's what they want to do, it's what they want to do. I guess the issue with that is it really? We don't know. We really do. I don't know if Phil Spencer decided to wake up one day and say, we're done with, this strategy. We're kind of moving over to a different. But again, to stop myself, and I know I'm just rambling at this point, again, I don't know how much of a different strategy this is. I think the talk for Sony turned down game. Remember that story? So the rumor was PlayStation or Sony turned down Game Pass on PlayStation. I think this has been tried before. I think for probably 5-6 years, Xbox has tried to get Game Pass on even other consoles, the Switch, PS4, PS5. I think that's the plan because ultimately consoles, if they can make you money, great. If that's your thing, say PlayStation, right? They're heavily into console, but they're even now doing mobile. They're doing live service. They're trying to really diversify, right? But they have the stronger console in terms of it just sells. No matter really, weirdly, whatever Xbox does, even in the last couple months, it hasn't changed anything. PlayStation still dominates in terms of the console sales. Now, does that matter? Well, it depends. For Xbox, it literally might not matter, and that's fine. If they are consistently losing money, if they know we don't stand a chance, we can't sell Xboxes like PlayStation can sell PlayStation, that's okay. You become a publisher, you put your games on Game Pass, you get Game Pass everywhere possible, you have your Halo Infinites of the world and your Gears, you put them on it. Yes, PlayStation takes its cut. You're helping the enemy, but that's thinking of the war. And really, if they do this, there is no war. That's the thing. If Xbox games start coming out on PlayStation, people might say, oh, Phil, what in God's name you doing? PlayStation takes 30%, of every sale because of the store contract. But it's not a battle anymore. It's actually more of a partnership because it's Xbox has now so many brands. They just now don't have exclusivity. And this is long term. In the next year or two, it's probably not going to be like that. You'll see maybe Gears of War come out on Xbox, then 2, 3, 4, 5 months come out on PlayStation. That is the start of the end. Does that make sense? That is that's not the end of Xbox, but it's extremely close, and you can see where it's going to. You know eventually that means, okay, we're just not even going to do it. We're just going to put it on PlayStation. And again, they can make a boatload of money. They might actually make more money because they're not losing money on consoles anymore. They can focus on their own thing. So again, I would say only two things are, if you bought an Xbox just for the exclusive, you probably took the biggest hit from this entire situation. And there's absolutely people that did that. And I feel for those people, okay? Those people, that sector, they have a right, I think, to be really upset. And then I would say just kind of fear of like what PlayStation does with all of this newfound power, because, we can say they weren't really competing. I think they were, like, for the longest time. I don't think it was like a war. I would hope that they, could shake hands with each other, if they met each other on the street. But I mean, they were in legit competition. And again, competition breeds the exclusives, breeds the creativity, breeds the pricing. If you only have one, there's nobody to check you on the prices anymore. But if there's 2 or 3 or 4, then you get checked, because if somebody's cheaper than you, they might win out. So that is something that I do think, not now, not like in the next year, but I mean, following this through. And again, I know I'm going with it as if it's like for sure happening. I mean, I think it is kind of for sure happening. We know Hi-Fi Rush for sure is happening. Sea of Thieves is for sure happening. At this point, I think Starfield is for sure happening. And then they're doing a business, Skype kind of meeting thing with, with the people next week. Okay. So, and not literally Skype, whatever they end up doing. So, like, this is the strategy. Like, I really do think Halo does come to, and people will be mad, but I don't know. Like, I mean, I keep explaining. I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over. There's a couple of reasons to be mad, but overall, I don't know. Anything beyond those, and maybe things I'm not thinking about. There's definitely maybe things I haven't thought about, and you can let me know in the comments. But I think a lot of people are approaching it more, again, about like the brand loyalty. Oh, this is gonna destroy the Xbox console. That's like my entire soul. Well, why is it? Why is it your soul? Can you please tell? Because you'll still have their games. If you think their games are so great, and that's okay. Like, I take that as a little jab, but if you legitimately think their games are great, and that's fine, some of their games literally are great, well, you're just not going to have the console, but you'll still have the games themselves. So I don't really know, like, are you that invested in the box? And then again, the only people that should be invested in the box are the people that only have the Xbox and only got it for those exclusives. Because if you gotta say for like Madden and and again, that might not spell the end of the Xbox console. Maybe some people would still get it, for certain, say, multiplayer games or whatever, that kind of brand loyalty. It would take a while to kind of like phase people out of it. So definitely going to be something that we got to keep an eye on over the next, week for sure, 1 week for sure. And then we just got to kind of see where it goes from there, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.